Well, hey, welcome to the show before the show, where I check to make sure everything is working. And if you didn't catch last week's show before the show, which would have been last week's, you will have noticed that there were camera troubles. Well, different display. That also might have caught your eye. That same camera died today. It's somewhere in this space. I don't know if I discarded it entirely, but I set it aside because, well, it just wasn't working. I was troubleshooting this morning and that happened. So last minute, Pat had to figure out what to do for this. So I don't have any other cameras. All my work cameras are at work, which is a little bit of a bummer. You also notice this on my chest. Rule of audio. If you don't need to hide the source, don't. Just don't. So I'm curious as to how this sounds and whether it'll last the entirety of this stream. I really don't know the longevity of these batteries, so it'll be fun to find out. I have a USB nearby in case we do need to plug it in, but I don't think that'll be the case. And that's my iPhone 13, so you can be a streamer too, provided you have a cable. And Camo, I think, is the service I'm using right now. At any rate, fun show before the show talk. How are you guys? I'm gonna let folks trickle in before we start this brew, obviously. We're starting a little bit early. I work tomorrow, so I'm gonna want to finish this off early, but late night brewing sessions gotta happen late night to be late night brewing sessions. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense. I'm actually looking at some stuff though, unrelated to iPhoneography or Rode wireless audio. I'm actually looking at Kamigawa stuff. I can share the screen so we can all look at it. I have a Tana Tevesh myself. I can call it Bloodless Pod. Or rather, you do call it Ricardo, Bloodless Pod. All right. I mean, what puts the blood in Blood Pod? Blood Pod? I mean, I guess... Let me look at this really quick. I've only played against Blood Pod decks. I've never really looked at their total composition, but... Oh my god, there's so many... It's Birthing Pod, right? Birthing Pod is sort of the all-star of that general list. That's like how you combo out and win. I don't really know what other things you're doing other than stacks. I haven't seen a Blood Pod deck in ages, and this is sort of an interesting list too because it's also a variation of stacks. And we'll get to talking about the request from this Brew Master deck tech. Let me put it up on the screen so I can see it actually. But ultimately, it's like a Hulk pod in Jund. And obviously, Tevesh is sort of the catalyst to make all of that happen. And it'd be interesting to maintain that, but excuse me, Jens was saying that it's not entirely necessary. And this was actually a deck that was constructed by two of our Brewmasters. On that note, I started early not to complain about audio-video issues because they're abundant. I swear, every time. I'm just glad these don't happen when I'm at work. Let me just put it that way. But the Patreon. No more Patreon. You guys, free entertainment. Free entertainment for the masses. So if you tune in every week for live streams, look at you, good on you. We are clearing out this month with the final Brewmaster request. So up until the end of January, these are all going to be Brewmaster live streams. And then I believe Kamigawa Neon Dynasty releases next month, and I'll probably want to cover that. But the amount of live streams are obviously going to downshift. The Patreon members had made this essentially like a service and something that we could run on YouTube. But as it stands, I want to produce live stream content. I don't know if we're going to continue solely with MTG. I've sort of harped on this in the past. But I definitely want to talk about stuff that's relevant to Commander, especially cEDH players. If you happen to play competitively, well then this is still a good source for you if you're interested in finding out what cards are the best from these new sets. But I had the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty stuff up a second ago. The lands are probably my favorite thing so far, and we can look at these together in a second. But got the notes up for the Brewmaster segment. I'll read over this before we start. Let me see here. Why Gets, says Ron Marshall. The show before the show. Hey, JD. It's just a Blood Pod without the stack strat. Oh, see, now I can appreciate that. Honestly, if you're going to do stacks, you have to have a definitive like line of play to get out, right? To relieve everyone of the torture you're probably laying on them. Unless it's a meme deck and the only goal is to torture people or to set up states where no one can win, which is rare, but it happens. And if your deck strategy is to do that, well then I'm sure your friends just love you. That shouldn't be your goal. That shouldn't be your goal, I don't think, ultimately. I think you should be planning on winning, right? So if you're going to do a stacks list, make sure you have an exit plan. And Blood Pod had one, and Ricardo's mentioning it now. The Kiki Pod, yeah. That's what it is. I haven't fought a Blood Pod list in ages. Ernesto ran one. That's the last time I remember playing against it was years ago. There's a fun line with Mazarek, but the fact is it's slower Corvold deck with a Hulk archetype inside. It's really cool to run natural order. Question, what creatures would you put in a Windgrace deck for Game Enders? Game Enders and Windgrace? I don't know if I'd put a lot of lands. Doesn't he care? Like, Windgrace's engine deals with like discarding lands and drawing cards, right? I'd put a lot of stuff to like fast mana ramp Windgrace out. I've done Windgrace before, but all the wins I did with the Windgrace were pretty memey, I would say. They're all land-based strategies and they're very fun. I wouldn't say it was hyper competitive. There are probably better things to be doing in Jund, like we're going to cover today. But I couldn't really state. Maybe someone in the audience can give you some good Windgrace creatures to leverage. I don't know if Windgrace is really looking for creatures to leverage, but I'm sure there are a handful. Ignoble Hierarch. Throw that in there. What's up, Ron? Not much. Not much. How's the audio? Let me know if the audio is good. I tried to balance it. It's like, you can see this. Actually, we're using iPhone. Let's see if this autofocus, hell yeah, look at that. Can you see that? Okay, there we go. It says I'm peaking like at every single instance. This says I am way over. So I'd be curious to know if I am in fact peaking on my audio. I don't think I am, but it's saying I am. I think that's a lie. Because on my computer, it looks like it's fine. So if the audio is good for you guys, let me know. If it needs to go down, obviously let me know. If it needs to go up, let me know. All right. If the card lines up, I can get Windgrace out by turn 3 or 4. I think that's a good general strategy, right? I think you should probably aim. Windgrace is the engine for that deck. I think that generally speaking, the creatures you want for that list are probably going to have decent enough butts to block for Windgrace. Generally speaking, if there's a Value Walker or any form of Planeswalker out, attacks become prioritized to remove that Planeswalker because it's usually doing something of high benefit for that player. If it happens to be your commander, then your whole deck strategy is sort of loosely based around Windgrace, or it should be, right? So anything that could defend it easily enough. And I can think of a few flyers that would happily swing at Windgrace. Let me see here. Audio is good, no distortion. Good, yeah, it's funny. I've only used these on a handful of shoots, and generally when I've used these, they've been attached to lavaliers or they've been set up to run with like shotgun microphones. It's just so I can alleviate the use of XLR cables, right? And it's been really good for that. Although, if you're an audio engineer, you record audio. I have a 32-bit float like field recorder, and I'm spoiled. I don't really bother with like, I do properly level audio when I can, but when you use 32-bit float, you don't have to think about that. So with this, I actually have to think about that. That's why I'm trying to be conscientious of you guys. And the way this reads is very off. Like we're at negative 30 decibels on this device, which is low, and it's still saying I'm peaking, which is insane. So I don't know where it's getting that level from, but apparently it's good, so that's good. I wanted to switch screens though, like before we start, since we're just chilling here. Blah. Okay, just look over some Kami cards, because I'm really excited for this set. I know a lot of people were sort of put off by the idea that it was sort of like a Neo-Yokio, Neo-Tokyo kind of vibe. You know, people didn't want a dystopian cyberpunk future Kamigawa. They kind of just want the old school spirits and sort of like folkloric look of Kamigawa. I don't know if that's how they would label it. But as it stands, like what we're seeing, it all looks really cool. And we're getting a lot of that flavor in these lands. Like I was mentioning just a second ago, like this mountain is just Am I wrong? Is this not like a really is this not a really good mountain? Do you not want to play this mountain? Um, I know for a fact that my land base, my basic land base is going to change with this set. I'm snapping up a bunch of these. And like when the Mystic Archives for Strixhaven came out, the Japanese variants, I have so many of those. And like, it's sad to say, I don't even play with half of them. I just really enjoy the art. So I wound up buying like a bunch of, because I had a gut feeling they would go up in price, and some of them have, right? I feel like Grape Shot really shot up there. But yeah, I loved all of those. So the fact that we're getting more Japanese themed artwork and a lot of stuff by popular Japanese artists, like if you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, you would immediately recognize this, right? So I'm hoping that I get some art that is playable for me, because I don't normally own or play Blue List. So, but yeah, but then again, like there's just good art all around. Like everything that's come out from the set that's been spoiled thus far is looking really good. There's some spoilers that just look like complete dog dick. There was like, Justin shared this one Boros card that just looks like complete trash. You make soldiers or samurai or something, and then everyone else makes vigilant samurai. But yours have haste, so you can like smash into them, and like you come out on top with like one positive. Maybe it's for, I mean, I don't know what format wants it. I don't know who's gonna play that, but it looks like a trash card. But these lands are great, and I gotta be honest, like the more basic lands they nail, the better, because this is the kind of stuff I feel like a majority of us will use to pimp out our list. And all of these look just damn amazing. Like all these lands thus far look so good. I'm excited to see. Come on, like you don't want to play with the swamp? You don't want to play with this friggin' lantern swamp? I totally do. These look amazing. I'm very excited for this set. Hitagetsu comes back. I do like Heartless Hitagetsu more. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. But this does put you in Rakdos now, so that's kind of cool. Obviously, the sacrifice a creature thing on top is actually fairly valuable, depending on what you're doing. If you have a strategy that utilizes the graveyard, having an engine to sacrifice things is really cool. And then obviously scrying 2 is kind of useful, but the cost associated with that does hamper this a little bit. Maybe, crick in the 99, and then you lose all the life. I'm sure there's better things to do with Hitagetsu. I didn't look up any sort of strategies with these cards yet, but I do want to take a gander at some of them, just because I'm trying to catch up, and I thought it'd be fun to look over some of these arts, because most of the ones spoiled thus far have just had really good art. Did you hear that hammering? Did you hear that hammering? I hope not. It's pretty loud. I don't know who's hammering at 7. All right. Sometimes it's like just the walls for our heater, but that's not the heater noise, not to my knowledge. Okay. Hey guys, hey Trueheimer. I have infinite mana draw combo, by the way. Oh, that's good. Ron with a cocktail. Oh, sweet. Looking arts. Yeah, all these arts look sweet. Again, I'm extremely stoked for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. But we should probably get on track. We should probably get on track for our deck here. Oh god, oh no. Need to do this. Show full URLs. No, show. Hey, is that? Yeah, there we go. So if you want to follow along with this list, the list that I'll be editing is in the description down below. However, the list that this was modeled after is right here. Because Jens and Trent produced this list for the Brew Master segment, it's essentially a copy and paste of their deck. So if you want to use the original list, if you like how it's been done, it's right there for you. However, this will definitely be a variant of this, and as per request given, and we'll be looking at those in just a second. It's essentially a Hulk deck with stacks, and Tevesh is the catalyst to sacrifice Hulk and do the Hulk pile. I don't remember what the Hulk pile consists of, so we're going to look through this and see if we can't figure it out. It's usually not too complicated. It just means there's a lot of dead stuff in the deck. So when we look at this, we'll see if we can target out all the dead cards, and we'll be like, oh, that's our Hulk pile, or Hulk pile. All right, let's start this off right, though. Welcome back to the 99, where we're focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlatt, and this is Brew Master, where I take the list of our Patreon members and deliver them to you as per requested by our Patreon members. So we do have a little bit of dialogue here on the list. The Jundernaut is the name I gave this. I usually just throw a title I see fitting to these lists, but this is a list by Jens and Trent. Shout out to you guys. I had a deck idea for Tana and Tevesh, brewed a rough draft, then Trent and I collabed to clean it up. I'd love it if you'd be able to put in the queue for Brew Master. Well, here she be. It's a Staxy Jun list that looks to leverage Tana's tokens to keep drawing with Tevesh. Plus, he's a way to stack Protean Hulk, enabling a layered combo. Now, I will state that Jens is more than happy to make this not a Hulk list anymore, to take this any route that I feel better suits this deck's agenda. And that's fair. I think none of these are outlets necessarily for a win. Tana is predominantly there, in my opinion, for colors, and we'll of course go over these two partners in a second. And then obviously Tevesh is a really great value engine. It's nice that Tana produces tokens for Tevesh, but Tevesh is kind of self-sufficient in that regard. In most lists that pilot Tevesh is sort of your priority to cast. So if I had it, for instance, on turn 2, a way to play Tana out and Tevesh out, you would play Tevesh out. And you should play Tevesh out and start producing Thrall, start drawing cards. It just works better that way. And Rograk and Tevesh, much that same vein, if you've seen that deck list, you're using Rograk to get Tevesh out, and then you're recasting Rograk to eat and draw a bunch of cards. And generally speaking, if someone's going to swing at Tevesh, that's totally fine. It just means that your life total gets to remain at whatever height it was. And it's great if you're an Adnos player, or you're using your life as a resource, as we do in Black. It's fantastic that Tevesh is drawing all those targets on itself. And then it's also drawing new cards as people are trying to bring him down. Such an excellent commander. Really, probably one of the better commanders from Commander Legends. I think Rograk's still my favorite from that set because red is a very powerful color right now. Always has been, but it's just getting better. And hopefully we see more utilities that don't break the game like Underworld Breach, but aid the game. At least aid Red's game plan. Anyway, those were the notes. So Jen said we could just, whatever we wanted to do with this list, we can do that. So I'm excited to do whatever we want. Provided we want to maintain the Staxy approach with this, we very well can. So we'll leave that up to us. If you guys want to continue doing the stacks route, we can do that. If you want to switch this to being some sort of strict Underworld Breach combo, we can do that. And there's plenty of things you can do in Jund to, red by itself leverages Underworld Breach well. So when you add green and black, guess what? It just gets better. Right, Rakdos, those two colors, having the most ritual ramp, having a good range of tutors. Obviously, Black has the most direct lines of tutors, but even Gamble gets a chance to shine when Underworld Breach is on the battlefield. Right, it doesn't matter where that card goes, which is so beautiful about these colors. And I think this partner pairing is really potent, as Jen's mentioned. The Saprolings you're creating, they're not nothing. They're fodder for Tevesh, and obviously they could just block for Tevesh as well. So there's something there. I wish Tana had, at 4 CMC, I can't help but feel that Tana is lacking, especially relative to the other partners that came out in those sets, those precons. I can't help but feel that Tana at 4 CMC is kind of lacking when compared to something like a Thrasios or something like a Tymna. And then when you look at things like Crom, you're like, well, that's 5 CMC pad. That's not as good. I'm like, no, it's kind of better. Crom is kind of better. Just drawing for doing nothing, that's great. And on top of the fact that it has haste, which Tana definitely should have got, in my opinion. But speaking of, for 2 generic Gruul, I'm a Gruul boy too. I'm a Gruul boy at heart. So if I'm ragging on Tana, it's only because I love her. Legendary creature, Elf Druid. Elf, relevant tribal, probably not here though. 2/2 body, trample. Whenever Tana the Bloodsower deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 Saproling creature tokens. So, yes, you can use it in sub-strategies. Like if you were to use like an Arden and Tana, you could do some sort of build where you just overwhelm the board with a bunch of Saprolings, and then you can go wide with that. And there are plenty of anthems that exist in the game. There are plenty of ways to go wide and win with Tana. But here, as I see it, with this partner pairing, they're strictly there as fodder, right? But again, we wouldn't really prioritize Tana over Tevesh. So if there's a chance to play Tevesh, we do that. For 4 generic, 1 black, Tevesh, Spot, and Doom of Fools. I'm gonna read this as if you've never seen this card. Legendary Planeswalker Spot, 4 loyalty as it enters. +2, create 2 0/1 black thrall creature tokens. +1, you may sacrifice another creature or planeswalker. I kind of wish that didn't say another, but come on. If it was an infinite outlet with itself, it would be much. I think it would be really good. Yeah. It probably should have been 3 generic and 2 black too. Because when you look over these effects, you're like, oh, this is really good. And making generic mana is not difficult. If you do, draw 2 cards. Then draw another card if the sacrifice permanent was a commander. So that means your opponent's commanders, that means your commander. I like to utilize cards that let me borrow creatures for a moment, right? Gain control of target creature, it gains haste until the end of turn, like that sort of effect. And there are a handful that are 3 CMC and under. I usually stick to the ones that are 2 CMC and under. Specifically, the one from Eldraine, Claim the Firstborn. How did I almost forget the name? By the way, great Mystic Archive art, both English and Japanese for that card. That card's great. Use that. Look at all the commanders that you see that are 3 CMC and under, and then you're like, oh, that makes sense with Tevesh. We're in red. It's a good utility. So if it's not here, we might add it. -10, gain control of all commanders. Okay. That's sort of its own finisher. If you don't win with that, then I don't know. But the goal is to do the -10 when Tevesh is at 10. Because when you do the -10 and Tevesh is at 10, guess what? Tevesh is in your command zone and you put it back on the battlefield. That is how that works. And I say it's a finisher. It doesn't always help you. Like if there's 2 stacks players having, you know, their Grand Arbiter or whatever, and someone else's commander that's running stacks is not going to be hyper relevant. But stealing their commanders gives you a lot of value and a lot of options. And in most instances, if you're playing cEDH, most commanders, they're going to be partner pairings. They're going to give you some form of draw. So expect a lot of draw. So if you're not in the lead, you will certainly get there. You should certainly get there. And a majority of creatures in a cEDH setting are the commanders, generally. Right? You might see an Esper Sentinel, you might see a Dark Confidant, you might see a Grand Abolisher, poo-poo on that card. Most of them, commanders. Tevesh Spot can be your partner and your commander. So, before I go over the deck, I want to check in with you guys, see if you're still alive, then we'll proceed. Okay. Oh yeah, we can hear that. Oh, yeah. Sweet, true, thanks. Tana should be a 3/3 at least. Kind of, or like I'd even take a 3/2, but the fact that she couldn't survive a Pyroclasm at 4 CMC kind of pisses me off. Like you're making bodies, I get that. The way they logicked this was that, oh, when she attacks and deals combat damage, she has to deal combat damage. She has trample, but she's a 2/2. When she does that, you have a virtual 4/4 on the battlefield, right? 2 Saprolings and her. It's not good enough, especially when she doesn't have haste. It's really not good enough in my book, but she puts you in Gruul. She puts you in Gruul, man. Oh yeah, I have the Japanese etched Mystic Claim the Firstborn. It's beautiful. Fact. That Japanese etched Claim the Firstborn is beautiful. So what I want to do is just go over through our live editor here and take a gander at this deck in totality. And then we can sort of pick apart what's going on, what we like, what we don't like. And what I'm going to do is just remove the stuff we don't like to hopefully add cards that make these Hulk piles more efficient. Now, that is if we choose to run with the Hulk piles. So I think our first order of business is to look at the Hulk piles and see if that's something we want to do. If this is to make a better version of this list, Hulk is not very good. Like I've never found Hulk to be good, even when Flash was around. I understand, you know, turn 0 Flash. Oh my God, it can happen. Never happened to me. Never happened to me. I'm sure there are people that are just elected to play, like just, you know, mulliganing down to 3 cards and magically having it. And it's like, it just never happened enough for it to be a concern of mine. But then again, I think we only had one like Flash Hulk player, so. And we were all conscious of it. So we would definitely dog that one individual. So it never became problematic. And even then, again, it was kind of menacing. But generally speaking, you have a lot of dead cards in your list that are useless outside of the Hulk piles, right? So why don't we take a gander at those? And again, because Hulk finds creatures, it's going to be in here. Well, okay. There's stuff. Protean Hulk. When this creature dies, search your library for any number of creature cards with total converted mana cost of 6 or less, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. So you want to make sure that when you do this, you're winning the game, right? That's the general goal here. I see a Viserys here. that is a card. That is a card for a Hulk pile. I see a Oakham Adversary, Tana, Ornn Frostfang's great. And I see a Phyrexian Delver. Okay. So the first thing I suppose you go for is Viscera and Phyrexian Delver, and then you would return the Protean Hulk back to the battlefield. How are we cracking the Hulk? We've already discussed that. You would do that with your Tevesh. You should be prioritizing Tevesh. And if not, then this is our only self-sacrificer. Viscera and Carrion Feeder are your general go-tos with this pile for starters in these colors. Because both say sacrifice a creature with no additional cost. Carrion Feeder just gets really big, +1/+1 counters. Viscera lets you scry, so there is some value outside of the combo. I don't think you're going to be cracking very many creatures outside of this list. In this one, we make Saproings and we make Thrall, so it's not horrible, right? Okay, so that's that. Bring this back. Now, what's curious to me is we go into Micaias. We go into Micaias Walking Ballista. When a creature with Undying dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter. So if we do that, that doesn't really work, does it? No, it does. Okay, because of Viscera. Okay, so you get Micaias and Walking Ballista, right? So Walking Ballista is a 1/1 with Undying, and what you would do is it would come back when it'll die as a state-based action, right? When it goes to the battlefield with Micaias, it'll die because it's a... Actually, I'm lying to you. I'm still lying to you because it is a 1/1. So there is that. But the thing is, because you have Viscera, you can remove the 1/1 counters you will inevitably get with Undying and ping things. But to start this, it appears you would need to Viscera the Walking Ballista. It'll come back with a 1/1 counter. And then you'll remove the 1/1 counter, ping someone, eat it, rinse and repeat. So that seems to be the pile. Yeah. Ornn Frostfang's banging, by the way. I noticed there's no, what's that little hamster? Isn't there a squirrel? Isn't there like some call time squirrel that draws you cards too? You didn't want that shit? You didn't want that in your deck? Ornn Frostfang's probably my favorite. So what do you guys think? Hulk pile. As I described it. Again, and if I'm missing anything, please let me know. Do you want the Hulk pile in this deck? Does it tickle your fancy? I'm looking for yays and nays. So if you want to see the Protean Hulk pile with Phyrexian Delver, Viscera, Micaias, and Walking Ballista, go. Yay or nay? If it's a nay, we remove all of this, and then we work on something else. I'm sorry. I ate a lot of pasta before I jumped on, so if I look like I'm dying, it's really just the carbs. Okay. Tana should be a 3/3. Yes. Yeah, everything good. Walking Ballista and Micaias are 6 together. They are indeed. But yay or nay, gang? Yay or nay? Do we want this? Do we want this? Is this what Jens and Trent should be playing with? Is what I'm saying. And me personally, I'm going to say nay. I have never liked running Protean Hulk. Again, it's generally a reanimate strategy, so there are more cards at play than just the Protean Hulk, right? And again, in a flashless world, which we're not even in those colors, we don't have blue. You would need to entomb this and reanimate it. You'd need to bury it alive this and reanimate it. I'm not too high on this. Like, I would even rather run... I don't know. Here, I would rather run like necro piles, necrotic ooze. If you've ever seen this card, there are a plentiful of really cool necrotic ooze piles, right? As long as the necrotic ooze is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all creature cards in all graveyards. So the idea being, there's a couple piles you can set up. I know a lot of people like to use anger in like buried alive piles to give necrotic ooze haste, but you will need a mountain on the battlefield to get the haste enabling, obviously, and this is one of 2, or rather one of 3 creatures that would go in that buried pile. So there are likely better things to do, and there actually are now. There's plenty of necrotic ooze piles we can actually go with here. Unfortunately, with Necrotic Ooze, that will also add some dead cards, but not as many as, in my opinion, Protean Hulk. It's not even an opinion. It's just Necrotic Ooze, and let's just say we go with the... Well, I keep pushing this combo because I want it to happen. But you would do Necrotic Ooze, Scourge Familiar, and Asmodeus, right? And what would happen is you would draw your deck with this crazy looking dude. Look at those eyes. You can trust a guy like this, right? Can you trust this guy? I feel like you can trust him. But essentially, you would need at least 3 cards in hand to start this, because with Scourge Familiar's ability, you could discard a card and add black. With Asmodeus, guess what? 3 black, 7 cards. And you're using Tevesh, so you should have 3 cards in your hand. And this would probably be the combo I go for, but this, again, it's just a very fun combo I've been wanting to do. But at any rate, that's just one of many combos you can do, and there's stuff with Kiki-Jiki, and yeah. But again, I think that this is a very clean way to go about doing that. Those are high CMC cards though, so if you're on Ad Nauseam, maybe not the best package for you. And obviously, we've also got just Dockside Extortionist here. And with a sack outlet, if you had something like, not Shallow Grave, but not Dread Return, although there are Dread Return things we can do too. It's the one with buyback, return, battlefield. It's this one, Corpse Dance. With Corpse Dance, a sack outlet, and our good friend Dockside Extortionist, there's plenty of ways to make infinite mana. And then the goal at this point would be to utilize either a sack outlet to kill people, Impact Tremors effect, or something of that ilk to get the job done because a creature is entering and leaving the battlefield. Okay. So let's see here. Hey Pat, can't wait to see what you do with the list. Oh, Jens. Oh, Jens. So Soul says meh. Is that fast enough? Question isn't whether it's fast enough. Question is whether we want to do it or not. I don't think it's probably not fast enough because there is a lot going on. But if it's something we want to do, we'll do it, right? I mean, Protean piles are still a thing, and what better pairing, right? You have the Catalyst in the command zone with Tevesh, and Tevesh is just a really good value engine. But then again, we know that Tevesh is going to be targeted. In all the games I've played Tevesh was like the first thing people attacked. Generally the first thing, which has also given other Adnos players like really great way to leverage their time, because they don't have to be concerned about their life running down as the clock ticks, because no one is going to focus your life total when there's a Tevesh drawing cards. For some reason, that value throws people off. But then when there's a Crom or some other shit drawing cards like a Thrasios, no one seeks to remove or like alleviate the board of that problem. For some reason, a Planeswalker accruing value in almost the same way as these other cards is sort of staggering. I will state that I feel Tevesh draws more on average. Crom in a pinch is going to draw more during like the mid-game, end-game state where people are just flinging spells without a concern, and that's different. But I mean, Tevesh is only going to give you value on your turn, so I don't know. There's a little bit of bias there. You can see, you can tell I've played Tevesh before in the pains of playing Tevesh. All right, so we have 1 nay, 2 nay, 3 nay, 4 nay. Oh my god. 4 nays, no yays. Rituals, Razaketh, Dockside Loops. And there's okay, so that's one of my favorites. I don't know if and Jens, maybe you can answer if you're still with us. Because Razaketh is, well, okay, 2 things. One, it just received new art. I say just. It received new art, and like I would love to play a deck with this art. The art from the Secret Lair was really cool. This was, in my mind, the best of the lot. And not only because Razaketh is, I'm going to say it, it's the best reanimate target. I still think it is one of the best reanimate targets in Commander right now, because functionally it works with so many things, and it's just very, very good. So yeah, this is a really great reanimate target with that same loop I was sort of chiming about, the oh my god, Corpse Dance, right? Because we are making the mana with Dockside, and then we are paying for this, and then we sort of have like an infinite loop with, well, hopefully we're making excess with Dockside, and then we're just leveraging Razaketh to produce whatever the hell we want. generally a win, right? You grab your Underworld Breach, provided you have the mana, you cast your Underworld Breach, and then you do something better with your time. But this is an amazing catalyst, and it's one card. And it will be easily leveraged with any creature. But specifically with this deck, we're producing a lot of creatures. So in the list that I run Razaketh in, my Rockrak and Tevesh list, provided I have 2 creatures, I have a win, right? And a lot of those same scenarios can pop up here, but more, because we're in Jund. So it's not a bad idea. I like the idea of using Razaketh, by the way, Phil. So I say okay. And Jens, like I said, if you would rather we stick with Protean Hulk, let me know. And we've had this conversation already. I know you said it was fine to remove it, but just let me know. Let me know if you want to see a build with this, and we can sort of talk about it just over what your list is already doing. But I'm going to take out the cards that are inherently Protean pile cards, and then we'll go from there. And we will do a Razaketh Reanimator style strategy here. Razaketh, one of my favorite combos with Razaketh is to do a Lean and Relic Order loop with an Animate Dead or one of the Animate's enchantment auras, because it's just the easiest to set up, and it's not indefinite. You have a finite amount of life, but you can go ahead and grab the 3 cards you need to finish the game, and that's great. People will thank you for that. So with Razaketh, now here's the other question. There's a lot of stacks here. We can maintain more of our stacks if we're utilizing Razaketh in such a way to finish the game or conclude it more quickly. So I think that's fair game. Although I do want to state that I almost want to take this a more progressive route, or rather proactive route. Progressive, just invite all the Hulks. All of the Hulks can play with us. No, a more proactive route, making this list as quick as possible. Although I will state, with a 4 CMC and a 5 CMC commander, it's not going to be that quick. But there are plenty of things we can do to cheese it, to get the ball rolling just that much quicker. Let me see here. No, you can scrap Hulk. Raz lines are always good. 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 I think if I were to save here, it would let me. Let me just try that. I might switch this to being a prototype or something of the sort. Okay. Okay, let's see what else we want to get rid of. And we'll start with the creatures because we're here. Again, I'm going to keep the Opposition Agent. I will remove the Magus of the Moon. I'm not sure what our basic land base looks like. Not that good. So if you're going to use Magus of the Moon, you would just need to be conscientious of the fact that you need to shoot for those lands earlier, sooner rather than later. So there are no mountains, presumably because of the Magus. We could probably switch this up such that there's at least 1 mountain now. And this way, removing one of these forests gives us a land base for a Tainted Pact. So Tainted Pact would be a very good card in this list now. We can use it like a general purpose tutor. And anything else we can add to that redundancy pile of finding the good stuff, the better. So yeah, there's no Tainted Pact here. So we could definitely add that, and I think that's going to be fine. Plumb the Forbidden's an odd one. I know why you're using it, and we can talk about that in a second. But so far as other creatures are concerned, I love Dothy Voidwalker. I think it should be in every deck. Fiend Artisan is good. Fiend Artisan's good. I'm going to take that out. I'm not high on Vexing Shusher, only because we can use it here, and I think we'll get there, but it is very mana specific, obviously. I think it's fine. It's nice to have some form of interaction turn to turn. I think this is probably better in a slower list, whereas what we're trying to do is, again, a little bit more proactive. Like, we're going to add Tinderwall, and I'm probably going to cut some of these dorks, if I'm being honest, too, because dorks are, I know I'm sort of removing things like for our Diabolic Intent and such, but I'm not really high on dorks anymore. Having played outside of green for a long enough time, I can tell you that there's enough fast mana, provided you mulligan appropriately, that you can get around the need of dorks. I still think like things like Deathrite Shaman, Bop, like these are very good cards. Ignoble Hierarch's great because it hits all of our colors. But to be honest, I'm going to get rid of these 3. I think that will give us a lot of spots to play with, and we'll run all the fast mana, all the rituals and such. As was mentioned, like most Razaketh players enjoy, quickly do the things to prep up for the scenario where Razaketh can be our go-to guy. Now, there are things we can do like self-mill piles, no Hermit Druid, but self-mill Dread Return. And then maybe you would want something like a Song of the Damned to generate mana if we're trying to storm into a win. Storm is generally the strategy we're going to go for in Jund if we're trying to do something proactive. So we could talk about that in like Rain of Filth and other sort of offbeat rituals. But right now, I think we can take those out and we're in an okay place, and we'll just add fast mana via rocks, and we can look at what we got here. But I think that this is probably a good setup. Again, I'm a little iffy on Vexing and Fiend, but I think that Fiend Artisan is good enough because Fiend gets us... It's trickier here because I've taken away a few of our dorks, but I will state we are generating creatures with our two main commanders, or main... I was going to say creatures, but I realized Tevesh is not a creature. We're generating creatures. So Fiend Artisan's going to have the bodies to crack, and we're probably going to go into, if we're being honest, a Dockside Extortionist or Dark Confidant if we needed the value there. I'm going to get rid of the Collector, oof. And the draw utility on Orin Frostfang, what I've found is that if you're doing the thing properly with Tevesh, you probably won't need the Orin Frostfang. But I will keep it. I'll get rid of the Okem Adversary, though. Right? Are we on Natural Order? No. You know, Natural Order probably would have been good here if we were using Protean Hulk, just to put Protean Hulk down, right? Green creature for a green creature. We don't need to think about that now, but probably useful. We're definitely going to use Culling Ritual, though. Thank you for citing that for me. Definitely wanted that. Again, I'm a little iffy on Orin Frostfang. Orin Frostfang's a world of stacks. Like, in a world of stacks, you want to come out on top, and you would use that with all the creatures you're generating, right? Okay. Woohoo! Okay, again, we're nixing the stacks play. Nixing it. Chalice of the Void is still fine, if we're being frank. Like, this is fine. I like this card a lot. I especially like the Sub McKinnon art. I especially like this art. But we're going to put it aside for now. It was important that I shared that with you. All the rest of this looks great. Yep. Okay. Probably use a Mana Vault. Probably. Yeah. I mean, look at Tevesh. Look at Tevesh. 4 generic. He's just yelling at you. Use Mana Vault. We will likely use a Utopia Sprawl too. I know that's a little funny, but you just prioritize, when you do that first fetch, you prioritize getting a forest out for Utopia Sprawl, right? So we'll add Utopia Sprawl. We still want this draw engine. We still want this tutor. This tutor is very good, again, for setting up those reanimate piles. So this is going to be a great way to navigate towards Razaketh and at instant speed. A lot of people don't realize that discard is one of the best aspects of survival of the fittest. It's one of the main reasons it works so well. You really do want that. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We have a Necromancy over these other two, and it was for the instant speed reanimate, presumably. But Tevesh sacrifices its sorcery, so our main catalyst is sort of neutered, right? So this is a good way to muck up anyone else's reanimate strategy, or maybe take a value creature for someone else, like they're trying to reanimate their own dockside. But I generally get rid of Necromancy first. As odd as that sounds, I know a lot of people value the fact that you can play this as if it had flash, but it's fine. There's never been a moment where I was like, oh damn, I got to do this at instant speed and I did something amazing. I've just never had that happen, sadly. And maybe you've had that happen a ton of times, right? You've planned for that, or there's just a lot of reanimate strategies at your table. I've never leveraged it in such a way, sadly, but it's still obviously fine, especially if we're trying to go for Master Razaketh. And by the way, we've got 18 slots now, so a lot of that's going to get eaten up by some staple cards. However, we've got 18 slots now. I think the enchantments are fine. You guys can tell me if there's any enchantments you want. Metamorphosis, Manamorphose, Orcish Lumberjack, Tinderwall. Orin is a second Timna in my Katie something Timna list. What is K? Crom and Timna list? Good card for grindier decks. Oh, for sure. I like Orin a lot, and don't get me wrong. Like I cut it here because I'm trying to do something quick. But that doesn't mean it's a bad card. It's one of my favorite cards. Okay. These are all lovely. There's nothing wrong with the instant pile we have here. By the way, for people that cut Abrupt Decay when Assassin's Trophy came out, Abrupt Decay is a great card. It's really good. Like it doesn't... Assassin's Trophy didn't make Abrupt Decay any worse. It's a good fucking card. Can I just say that? Can I say that? I said it already. It can't be countered. 3 CMC or less. Oh. A lot of my problems. 3 CMC or less. Amazing. I love Abrupt Decay. But we'll take both. We got a Brade with the new art. I know it wasn't intentional. It just auto-populates. But, you know, it's there. A Brade is fine. A Brade is fine. It's funny how Resculpt has put a Brade to shame. Can I show you this? Have you seen this blue card? Exile target artifact or creature's control gets a 4/4 blue elemental token. I know that sounds bad. I know that sounds bad. But exile any creature, not just damage. Common? Yeah. Sorry, Brade. But we're not in blue. We're not playing Crom. So we're not going to get to enjoy Resculpt. As it stands, probably fine. Probably fine. I'd switch this out for Natural State just to emphasize the point that Abrupt Decay is perfect, hitting 3 CMC things under. I like how this autofocuses really well. I will say there are perks to using iPhone because my Panasonic could not have done this as well. Look how close you get to be to my face and how it's still in focus. Look at that. Lands. We could probably use City of Traders because I like that card. Phyrexian Tower is beautiful. All these other things are beautiful. Can we put in the Kamigawa lands yet? There's too many to look. I'm not going to put you through. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to make you wait through that. But it was kind of important to me. If you actually make this deck, put those Kami lands in instead, okay? All this looks fine to me. Urza's Saga is going to make a whole lot more sense, but I'm assuming it would grab like Lion's Eye Diamond here, and then you would leverage that with your tutors and Underworld Breach in a beautiful, amazing way. And we could talk about that beautiful, amazing way in a second. I like Karn the Great Creator, but not that much. Sorcery speed spells. We added the Culling Ritual. We have the Eldritch Evolution. We got Tutor, 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 Tutor. Chicken Tutor, Faithless Looting. One of the best cards in the game. But you do need to go. I will take the time to do this. You do need to get the right art. You do need to get the right art. Have you seen my playmat of this card? There we go. There we go. Better. Better. And we will go for better gamble art. I think that Secret Lair looked really cool. We'll go for the Secret Lair gamble. Just the important things, you know. Green Sun Zenith is fine. Remember, Green Sun Zenith grabs a green creature. So what is our best green creature? And then we'll ask ourselves, is Green Sun Zenith doing enough? Is grabbing Dryad Arbor enough? I don't know, bros. I don't know. Tony Walking Ballista. We might need Walking Ballista, actually, because we are without a win con thus far. Is the idea to make infinite... We haven't discussed win cons since switching to this more proactive plan. But Walking Ballista is the general purpose win con for most decks. You're just like, oh, this thing kills people. Green Sun Zenith is fine. I think we probably remove that. There wasn't enough green creatures. Unless we put a green creature in that's of value, and then we can sort of talk about what that might be. But I think this is good. There's a couple of redirects I would want to throw in here. Probably add like a Ricochet Trap. Yeah, this is fine. This is good. This is good. We've got 4 ways to reanimate our boy. Let's add him in now. All right, actually, let's look at what we need to replace. We have 21 slots. Okay, and we know we need to at least add a land now, and I don't think I saw Shatter Skull Smashing. I'm going to throw that in here because Shatter Skull Smashing is a baller card. Do you need the green one? Or the black MDFC? Probably not. We're going to add a mountain first. Then we're going to add Tainted Pact because those are two things I remembered. What was I just talking about? Shatterskull Smashing. Run it. Just run it. You know when people complain about there not being enough removal at the table? Don't be the person who didn't pack enough removal. Shatterskull Smashing, you decided that you were going to take care of the board's problems. Your friends can thank you, buy you a beer. They should. They really should. It's crazy when I play mono white and I've got all the answers for some reason. Because you have to prepare, kids. Okay? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm the best mono white player. I'm just saying I've prepared. Anyway, just thinking of some recent games where I had to have answers every single turn, and it was like, thank God I put in Orm's Chant and this shitty removal card. All right, so that takes care of 3 slots. Let me tune in with you guys. Razaketh, right? Is that something we wanted? Did you guys want that? Did I want that? Did I want that? Did you want that? We got to go with the... I guess this, it was foil, right? It was like foils and non-foils. We're gonna do the foil. All right. We need to add rituals. But I'm gonna go ahead and Phil mentioned some rituals. Kamal Timna, thank you. Came here for ideas for a Madness Lord Windgrace deck. Well, you came to the right place. Madness Lord Windgrace, chat. Fill it up. Give Sarah Luthor, your best Madness Windgrace builds. You can link them in the comments. Hook a dude up. Yeah, rituals. I love Manamorphose. I really love Manamorphose, especially if you're trying to storm. If you're trying to storm, babies. One of my favorite cards. Metamorphose, I am a little iffy on. We can... I'll show you this. So Metamorphose only works on creature casting, but as additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, add X mana of any one color, where X is 1 plus the sacrifice creature's mana cost. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. So what's cool about Metamorphose and something like Burnt Offering is the fact that these can help you play out your win cons. Now we need to ask ourselves which in this instance is better. If it is a matter of using Razaketh for a certain sum of mana to do a thing, right? Like we sacrifice a Thrall to grab Burnt Offering, and then we sacrifice the other Thrall to grab Peer into the Abyss, and then we Burnt Offering Razaketh. Guess what? We can cast Peer into the Abyss. Right? So in my mind, that's better than grabbing Metamorphose and then metamorphosing into what, right? And that's the real question. As it stands, we don't have a win con that is based on creatures, right? And that may change. Obviously, Razaketh is a catalyst to get to places, but we're not going to be casting Razaketh, or at least we shouldn't hopefully get to a spot where we need a hard cast Razaketh. Sometimes that just happens. We're going to be trying to reanimate Razaketh because that's quicker. Reanimate for 1 black is quicker. So maybe we do Burnt Offering instead, right? But I do want to use Metamorphose, and I do want to... Orcish Lumberjack, I'm okay on. Tinderwall, is it 2 words? Tinderwall. Okay, and we got to go with the that Ice Age one. Blam. Tinderwall is great. It's a Rite of Flame, right? And we'll of course use Rite of Flame, and we'll talk about the other rituals in a second. I do want to look at our fast mana because it looked like we were missing a few things, which might actually help to have that list back up. Oh god. All right, let me tune in with you guys before I continue. I hope that, again, I don't know if we need Burnt Offering, but it's something we can have off to the side. In my mind, Burnt Offering is great. Burnt Offering is very similar to Sacrifice, right? Except it's better because Burnt Offering lets you get Rakdos, where Sacrifice is just black mana. Just black. So, Dark Ritual I see no Cabal Ritual. Let's add our rituals now. We want a Simian Spirit Guide because we're suckers for that shit. We want our Elvish Spirit Guide because guess what? Repeat after me. We're suckers for that shit. And do we want Pyretic and Desperate Ritual? I'm trying to see if they're here. No. So if there's no Desperate Ritual, I'm assuming there's no Pyretic Ritual. I don't think we were going for that, so we're just going to assume Pyretic Ritual. Desperate Ritual. And I don't think I saw Jessica's Will. And Jessica's Will is pretty cute, right? Everyone likes Jessica's Will. So we'll add Jessica's Will. I want to take a gander at our artifacts ramp, because we can use a Lotus Petal here. And I'm going to go out of this menu to look at our artifacts so I can just see them all in one place. Maybe end with Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog. Now, JD, the one thing I remembered that Jens and I talked about was trying to avoid that, because as fun as that is, you really put your ass out doing that. Like, you really put your ass out doing that. I don't know if it's like, it's fine. It's a 4 CMC combo, right? The other thing we can do, because we are using a Planeswalker and no other Planeswalker, is the simple fact that we could do this. We can Reality Scramble into Professor Onyx, right? Put target permanent on the bottom of an owner's library. That would be Tevesh. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card that shares a card type with it. That would be Professor Onyx. And then you put that on the battlefield, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so do that into this. Whatever you cast or copy and insert a sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. You do that. That's really clean. If we used Witherbloom Apprentice, it gives us a reason to have the Green Sun Zenith, right? So then there's 2 ways we can sort of navigate to the same win. If you guys have never seen Chain of Smog, right? Chain of Smog will let us win the game by targeting ourselves. Again, though, you're really ass out when you do this. You can lose. I've seen people lose. I've stopped people from winning because they've made themselves discard and did a little bit of damage to me. So you do need to bear that in mind. But also bear in mind that what we had previously discussed, like doing a Corpse Dance sort of setup, if you're buying back that spell and just casting it, then you get to do the Magecraft thing. So that's really cool. It could be there for that, but I can't help but feel that there's probably a better engine for us. And it doesn't need to be, it could literally just be, like a grape shot at this point. If we're literally storming, not figuratively, literally, we could use grape shot, right? And then use that beautiful, oh my God, most gorgeous grape shot in the world. Again, the art for the Japanese Mystical Archive, I know I talked about it earlier. I'm going to talk about it again. Gorgeous. We can use this to win the game. Don't I want to win the game with a card like this? If every single game concluded with me playing this card, I think I'd be really satisfied. It is absolutely stunning. So yeah, that's a thing we can do. We can talk about that. What's cool is, like, we can also just use the grape shot for value early on. I know it's weird to say that we can use it for value, but sometimes you do. You just use the grape shot, and then if you're Underworld Breach storming, it's there. It's there. It's in my graveyard. I do it again. But we need to make sure we have alternative solutions. And again, it really could just be a grape shot and a Walking Ballista. Our end goal is infinite mana, right? In this instance, it might even also make sense to just go with the Aetherflux Reservoir because we're storming. Count before you conclude your storm turn, but this plus that equals death. So that's pretty good, right? All right, okay. I think that works. What did I do? You know what? We're gonna actually sidebar. You can see all the lists I've done. All the list I've done. All of the decks. Better. A lot of those. I need to find my Rograk Tevesh list. I just want to look over. Because this is going to help us here. Right? And then this list, we use Aetherflux Reservoir here. But we also... Oh, I needed to put Kai's Ghost Form in there. Never got around to doing that. This is complete aside. I just want to count the win cons here because they're probably going to be the same win cons there. And it was just 2. Well, we need Wishclaw Talisman. I don't think I saw that. So, yeah, this is good. This is good information for me. I'm liking this. Underworld Breach, okay. How do we utilize Underworld Breach for a win? Oh my god. Oh, that's right. So there's a reiterate combo in here. That's cool. That's cool. Generally win with the Ether Flux Reservoir, I'm not gonna lie. And if shit really hits the fan, then you just use Praetor's Grass to steal Athos's Oracle. Or you can genuinely exile someone's entire library once you've made infinite mana. And you can sort of call that a day. So there's a win con there. Easy enough. Okay, all right. Let's tune back in with the Jundernaut. So I definitely want to add Wishclaw Talisman. We definitely want to add Mana Vault, Grim Monolith, Mox Opal. We're not doing Ad Nauseam, though we could. We probably should. So Mana Vault, Grim Monolith. Let me tune with you guys. Pestilence, maybe. Burnt Offering into Rasketh into Exsanguinate. You could do... So Exsanguinate is another win con. Each one to lose X life. You gain X life for the life lost. So basically with Exsanguinate, you would want to... You just want to pour a lot of mana into this. This is like another thing you could do. Like you do that. You can do Bitter Ordeal if you just want to strictly just remove their graveyards. Bitter Ordeal, you can do that. You could do, because the thing with Praetor's Grasp, I was illustrating just a second ago. Praetor's Grasp, because it says you present grasp. You exile target opponent's library, or sorry, search for a card, exile it face down. But what you would do is you would use Reiterate. You would use Reiterate to copy an instant or sorcery spell that netted you mana. So you need to make at least 7 mana. So in this instance, you would do like a Burnt Offering off of Razaketh. Reiterate the Burnt Offering. Razaketh's producing 8 mana. You're coming out on top with 1 mana of any one color. You're going to do Infinite Red first because this does require red. And then you will do Infinite Black, right? Once you get infinite mana, you can do Infinite Black into a Reiterated Praetor's Grasp, Infinite Black into anything that's really going to stunt your opponents. And again, because Grape Shot is a very real thing, we could just do that too. But Fork, Reverberate, Reiterate, these are all things I really like and kind of want to run. So Fork, Reverberate, Reiterate, we can probably refrain. We could add Sorcery Speed wins like a Dual Caster Mage, Twin Flame sort of nonsense. I don't think that is such a bad idea because there's actually a really good card called Eternal Witness that I don't think I saw. But Eternal Witness should be in here. She is very good. Yeah, so we're going to do that. And we'll do Twin Flame because at least with Twin Flame, it's a really great way to double down on our Dockside and any other value creature, but namely Dockside. And if you do Twin Flame, Dockside, Eternal Witness, Striving Twin Flame, you can actually make Infinite Eternal Witness and Dockside. So there's just a side combo that exists. No Dual Caster Mage involved. Although Dual Caster Mage is still a really banging card. I think people kind of discredit the actual value of this card. In colors outside of blue, there aren't that many ways to interact with the stack. So any way I can copy a spell allows me to interact with the stack. And Dual Caster Mage with Flash allows me to do it at any time, albeit at 3 CMC. It's still very good. Copying a tutor at a choice time will win you the game, right? Using Dual Caster Mage to copy a tutor, using Dual Caster Mage to copy an Ad Nauseam, using Dual Caster Mage to copy anything, giving you solutions first is always very good. So we definitely want to do that. I think that Tibble's Trickery might also find a home here. I also kind of just want to throw Ad Nauseam in here, just based off the simple fact that we're not in a bad sort to do Ad Nauseam. Like, I don't think our CMC is too high. And I'll take a gander in just a second, but I don't think it's that high. We can look at it in a second. I do want to pour more cards into here. I don't know if we've hit all of the cards I wanted, like Wishclaw Talisman. Did I add that already? But we definitely want Wishclaw Talisman. Okay, yeah, we want that. Would Birthing Pod be a bad idea? For value. I know, it's crazy to say, for value. I wish that Tana graduated to a better creature. 5 CMC is not I mean, what is Tana going to go into that's 5 CMC? That is still in the deck. Not much, but we can look at what the deck is now and see what we're missing, because I think I personally need to do that, and then we can go ahead and test this out. Okay. You are in a food chain squee color. Thanks, Jens. I hope that this is useful for everyone. This is sort of my thought process for a list that is in Jund that would be doing more proactive things. I do think that there's plenty of ways you can take this same pairing, though. I think the allure is definitely there to do a Protean Hulk, though, because you have the sack outlet in the command zone. Like, that's the whole reason Viral's Hulk existed for a while there, because Viral's, like, give itself regenerate, and he could also sacrifice a creature. That is really... It's kind of rare to find without that having an additional cost attached to it, so it's nice to see you have a 5 CMC commander that's super valuable, that also is a catalyst for that combo. But I think that the route we're taking it now, very, very different from what we originally had. So if you want to look at the original list again, because I had copied this from Tapped Out, there is a link in the main page there. If you're just looking at the deck, you can see the stacks version of this. A lot of those cards still exist here, though. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that variant. Although I would probably put Nanavolt in there anyways, because it's a good card to start with. I know you might have like placed a Trinisphere out prior, but it could actually be the card that goes into your Trinisphere. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely some value for Nanavolt still. It's also just really good fodder for Culling Ritual. Even if you're not like, you would leverage Culling Ritual the best, I feel, right? As the Staxy Tana Tevesh player. So that was definitely a good sideboard, and it's definitely a good inboard card. I really love it. It's good value. And the draw you get, honestly, like if I Culling Ritualed, I would eat Tana to draw 3 cards and just see what I had to play with, because you would have so much mana that you would want to leverage in 3 cards. You're going to find something, I would hope. All right. So you might say that there's room for like an Arcane Signet, and I would agree. I think that we kind of want to add maybe Arcane Signets. I don't think we're lacking any rocks here. Am I mistaken? We've got Chromox, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Mox Amber. Those are things that we can avoid because our commander is such a high cost, both of them. Lion's Eye Diamond, rather, is there for your Razaketh piles. I say piles. Razaketh is going to want to leverage this for a quick amount of mana. Mind you, I don't know if you've ever seen what is called Razakats, but it doesn't need that stupid name. It's a strategy that utilizes Eternal Witness and reanimating Eternal Witness and recovering Lion's Eye Diamond and utilizing Lion's Eye Diamond to generate X amount of mana. And then it usually incorporates a white for Lean and Relic Warder, but it's sort of unnecessary to have that pile anymore. You can just leverage this for the mana to a sufficient amount of mana to get the ball rolling on a different strategy. Eternal Witness helps you get there just because it's a body that freely grabs Lion's Eye Diamond, produces mana, and then also gets sacrificed, right? So I'll walk you through some basic lines if we can get there. We'll see. Yeah, I said I wanted to use Utopia Sprawl. I still want to use Utopia Sprawl. So let's add Utopia Sprawl. Skull Clamp, I'm looking at it. It's like, it's a very good card. And whenever you use Tevesh, it's a very good card. So I think it still makes sense to just have. It still makes sense to just have. It's very good. There's our Razaketh, Tana, Dual Caster Mage, great. Dual Caster Mage has 1 combo, but it's mostly there for value. I like Dual Caster a lot. I'll throw it in any list I can. It's always turned the tide for me, so hopefully it will here. Again, I'm still a little iffy on the Vexing Shusher. It might be the thing I remove, because I'd rather have the one instance of a redirect that can help me with like a ricochet trap. But if we're gonna try to rip an Adnaz, it probably makes more sense to stick with the Vexing Shusher. I'm gonna remove the Fiend Artisan because there are other ways that we can leverage to get to our creatures. I think we're gonna be fine without. I still want to add the not Carpet of Flowers. I do want to add the Utopia Sprawl, so we're gonna need to find a way to throw that in here. We've got a lot of rituals, and we can probably remove 1 or 2. We didn't add Seething Song, but I don't think we're missing it. Now, Plumb the Forbidden, our removal suite might be a tad limited, but We can talk about that in a second. As additional cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice one or more creatures. When you do, copy this spell for each creature sacrificed this way. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. So, as initial cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice one or more creatures. Is this not what I'm thinking? You draw a card and you lose 1 life. When you do this spell, copy the spell for each creature sacrificed this way. I don't think we need Plum the Forbidden. There's another card that allowed you to make it so an opponent drew a card, and I've seen that be the way to stop a Thassa win. Is this it? Am I reading this wrong? As you cast a spell, you may sacrifice one or more creatures when you do this. Name that card. It's like, as an additional cost, your opponent draws a card. Some sort of nonsense like that. Can you let me know the name of that card? I would like to highlight that. That's a really fun way to stop Thassa wins, but we don't need that. I think we've got enough interaction for a list that's trying to move aggressively, so we're probably good here. I do think that there's probably room for a little bit more hate. Love that card in Casual Commander too. Are we talking about Plum the Forbidden? I think it's fine. I usually, when I do, and I can understand why Plum the Forbidden's here, but I normally go with, is it Village Rites? I usually go with Village Rites because it's a very clean way to get the draw we need. But even in my Tevesh and Rograk list, you'll notice I've omitted a lot of these cards because, at least in that list, I get to Tevesh so quickly that the deck is either trying to pilot towards a turn 1 Ad Nauseam or a turn 1 Tevesh. Now, I don't think this deck's going to pilot that quickly, even having green. Rograk is the main reason that deck operates so quickly. And we are omitting cards like Calling the Weak and Plunge into, not the Plunge. It's a red card. How am I forgetting the name? Another red card that gives us 3 red. So that, yeah, there's ways to navigate towards that all quicker, but because we get Tevesh out so early, I'm getting draw that much earlier. So cards that add additional draw are not necessary. And I find that even here, I feel like we're going to get to Tevesh quick enough that we don't even need the additional draw utilities. And again, we have it everywhere else anyway, so I think we're going to be okay. Okay, what did I want? Did I want another artifact? Did we want another artifact? I'm just going to add the Utopia Sprawl because it's on my mind. And then we'll move from there. Okay. Baleful Mastery. Baleful Mastery. Thank you. That's the one I'm talking about. That's one I've seen people leverage to stop a Thassa win. I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary, but it is a really cool effect for stopping that. And Thassa's Oracle is a prevalent enough win con to where you will want to have solutions to stop that. So it's totally understandable. Cole built this deck as a food chain deck. I can see that. I don't see why not. It is something you can do. You know what I haven't built in a while, actually? I haven't built a food chain deck in a while. I was thinking of Arcane Signet, right? It's fine. We can skip it. I haven't built a food chain list in a while. Maybe that's something we should do. Okay, so this is normally where I look at redundancies like Necromancy and say to myself, do I really need Necromancy? We're using Opposition Agent because it steals a tutor in much the same way like a dual caster mage could steal a tutor, except this is also a very definite wall for a lot of players. So it's just a good way to take the target of a removal spell and hopefully not away from a very real target from one of our opponents, but it is good that way. It also just happens to be a body we can eat later on, right? Which is fine. Like I don't mind sacrificing that to do a Diabolic Intent when I need to. All of these look great. Unmarked Grave is really great when you have the Underworld Breach set up. It just makes a lot of sense. Culling Ritual is fantastic for setting up Underworld Breach. Don't discredit the fact that this destroys each. It's not bad that it's symmetrical and hitting your stuff. Trust me, it is not a bad thing. Okay, Faithless Looting is great. Faithless Looting is great because it's specifically, it's not a loot, it's a rummage, right? But you get the idea. You're drawing 2 cards and then you're discarding. Oh my god, it is a loot. It is a loot. I lied to you. What's important here is that you get to see what you discard. It's not random like many red cards. And here you can discard your reanimate target. So, and because of the flashback, it's really choice for discarding it later on, especially if you have a lot of mana you're rolling with. So I like that one a lot. I said I wanted to put in City of Traders, but we don't need to here. It's fine. I do want to remove one more card, obviously, to at least test this deck. Oh my god, 2 more cards. So we're going to get rid of the Necromancy because that's how I feel about it. And we're going to remove... I don't want to remove anything from here because I love all of these cards. One might argue the Manamorphose is probably not necessary, but like giving yourself double red is really important sometimes, especially here, right? Yeah. Double black, right? There's a couple of, you're going to double down on a couple colors that you really want, and it replaces itself. So it's almost like a non-card in the deck. It's just color fixing, strictly color fixing. So it's actually really good in that sense. We do need to remove one more card though. So again, my eyes keep looking back at the Vexing Shusher. I hate to do it. I hate to do it, but it's happening. Okay. It's basically a pod deck that runs Food Chain. Yeah, you know what's funny though? Like, there's a lot of cool Food Chain strategies. Food Chain I've not made in a while, and I've not made like Allurin in a while. Those are 2 that I would like to return to. Allurin is very, very fun, especially the Allurin list that make it a very critical component of the deck where like their whole deck is based around it, and when they execute on it, it's like absurd. All they have are creatures. I love seeing that. Is this playable? Do we use Guy's Cradle? I need to check. I need to check. No, this is not playable. Just letting you know. Well, if we could get a land. Let's do this. When I see Demonic Tutor and Underworld Breach, it's usually good. But no. That was not. Okay, well, I mean, this is something to play with. Is it good? Not necessarily. I just want to get the ball rolling on something. Oh my god. We'll do a forest into a carpet of flowers, and then let's just say that there's an island in the battlefield. Guess what there usually is. We will cast an Ignoble Hierarch by producing a green of carpet of flowers, and then we will pass the turn. Land, 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 land. No such thing. Okay, so we have a Yeska's Will, and Yeska's Will could be cast right now because we do have 3 mana. And I gotta tell you, ripping the top 3 and playing them is the best sounding effect. I hate that that is the case, but we're missing lands. Somehow of the 3 hands we looked at, there was like a grand total of 1 land, which is very impressive. We have 29 lands, and generally speaking in a cEDH universe, 28 to 30 lands is usually the jackpot. Like, that's the land base average you want to maintain. I've seen people go down to 25 lands. I think anything lower than 28 is usually absurd unless your deck is operating on a very, very low curve. Having at least somewhere around 1/3 of your deck being lands is good. And again, 30 is under that mark. So try to gravitate around there. It's important to note that we only get away with this because, at least in cEDH, you have a lot of fast mana you're rolling with, and you're going to mulligan generally till you have X amount of cards that are going to produce the perfect turn 1 for you, even if you have to go down to like 5 cards at any rate. By the way, I've been doing that with Oswald recently. If you've followed my deck, I've been going down to 5 cards like consistently and still winning games, and it's made me very proud that the mono white list can do that. Where do you ask as well? I'm going to rip the top 3, get to play them. Land, lands, shut them. All the lands. Okay, so we're going to do this. This gets exiled, this gets exiled. Cool. We're going to play that. We're going to play Lip. Yes, Sylvan Library. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. I just want to do this. Okay? That's what I want to do. You can make an excuse to hold the ritual, obviously, for a better opportunity to leverage it with both of its values. Yeska's Will being a commander-specific modal spell. And then we could have gone for just a Sylvan Library there to have a better next turn, but I'm okay holding this up. It gives us an opportunity to entomb a thing, which we might want to do in a second. Eldritch Evolution could be really cool if we had a good way to reanimate. Like, that Phyrexian Delver is sounding better now, just because the Eldritch Evolution can go into Phyrexian Delver and bring back our Ezeketh and then be its sack target, right? that would be really cool with Tana, but we're not near there. So we will hold this up to Entomb. Let's just get this out of the way. Obviously, you can Entomb anything, and it's important to note that, because if you have a way to, like if you have Eternal Witness in your hand, you can Entomb your Underworld Breach. Even if you had like a Noxious Revival, which is also in this deck, you Entomb your Underworld Breach and Noxious it back to the top and start your turn with that shit. And we're like, oh, great, turn 3, Underworld Breach, is this cool? And then so you reveal your LED and you do all these cool things. We're going to do the Entomb Razaketh just to put it out of the way. I wouldn't say you should do this unless you had a way to leverage it in the moment. It's probably more advisable to just hold the Entomb, but I'm going to do it because that's the best reason, right? Because I can. Okay, next turn. Bayou, baby. Oh my god, finally. Okay, so I would say that at this point, we've probably got 2 mana off of the Carpet of Flowers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Would it make sense to probably just go for Master Tevesh? Probably. We can do the Cabal Ritual, but we're not at threshold for this to be a grossly effective card. But if we do this, let's just say we produce 2 black here, and we produce, boop, 3 black, and we can use this other life total for our mana. So that's 3 black. I kind of just want to go for like Tevesh Library, right? So we do the 3 black here, bloop, tap here, and then we'll do the library. And this means we go ass out, but I'm kind of okay with that. If we don't want to go entirely ass out, we probably could kill this Ignoble Hierarch and draw 2 cards and see if we generate mana. But I know for a fact that I'm not going to be doing anything this game because I'm kind of far behind with what's going on. It would have been nice to have Tevesh out much sooner. Let me just put it that way. But we will generate some Thralls here. We will generate Thralls. And we're going to draw a lot of cards, and we're going to take all those cards. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Let's pretend someone swings at us, right? This will be Tevesh's health, loyalty. We'll say we take 3 damage on Tevesh, and I have to block with a Thrall. That's fine. That seems like something that would actually happen. Next turn, draw. 1, 2, 3. Guess what? I'm eating all of them with Sylvan Library. Our life total is going down, and we should probably track this. So we've lost 1 life here. Have we done anything to lose that much life? Not really. We've lost just the 1 life. So yeah, okay. We'll lose life there. We'll lose 9 life. For the fetch from earlier, and then the 2 additional cards we're drawing here. That's fine. Let's go ahead and just play the Gemstone Caverns. And I'm looking at Ad Nauseam. Are you looking at Ad Nauseam with me? I'm sorry, we shouldn't do that. We're going to eat this Thrall, and then we'll see where we're at. 1, 2. Okay. The Gemstone Caverns was sweet, but I think we're probably going to go with the Swamp. We're in a really nice spot here, but bear in mind, yeah, you know, we don't have any form of protection. And you know what's funny? Is that if we did keep Vexing Shusher, if we kept the Vexing Shusher, that I could give myself protection with Eldritch Evolution and then push for a combo here. But we didn't. So I don't always know best. I thought maybe we would have a Pyroblast or some shit, but we don't. To end this game neatly, let's just say that we're able to get away with this, right? We're waiting for everyone else to do their thing. Oh my god, someone's comboing. Oh no. Counterspell, counterspell. They fail. Haha. They're going to win. And we're like on top of that. On top of that. I'm not just sitting over here like a schmuck. 1, 2, 3, black, 4, 5. We're going to cast this Ad Nauseam. Is that cool? Is that cool? Any more counterspells from you suckers? Cool. Love it. So we need to find something to stop them from winning. So they got their Thassa's Oracle on the stack, right? Likely. So that's when we would need to interact, if possible, so we can like Pyroblast that shit and then move on to our turn, hopefully. So we're gonna get cards, see if we can win here. That's 2, 3. Oh my god. What I'm gonna do is just organize these by what is necessary. So the ritual might be necessary. So that's 3 life. Dock up. Don't need that. 2, 3. Oh god, don't need that at all. We're gonna go down 6. If we're doing this off turn again, I just want to make sure that we have a way to interact to stop whatever win is happening, and then I'll be content with saying that this worked. That is 2 for 6 mana. 6 mana, 6 life. So we're down to 16. Oh yeah, no. Oh, Max Diamond, yes, Max Diamond. We need that. Need that. No, 2 more. 2 more. This could be useful, but it's killing me right now. No. That's actually a good land for turn. Deathrite Shaman, don't need that. Don't need that. Okay. No. Well, let's just say we lose if our ad nauseum fails here, right? It's not failed. It's actually quite good. Oh no, we definitely used the wrong lands for. No, we didn't have. We should have used that. Let's be smart. Let's say we did that, so we kept our red open. There we go. Fork. Still not useful, but it would have been better to keep the thing that generated through all of our colors / the Rakdos land, our bad lands, because most of our interaction is red-black. Okay, so if you were being smart, you would have done that. And let's just pretend I was being smart. So we did that. Did I lose enough life? You can tell me. Vexing Shisher has too much upside. I'd remove one of the red blasts. Is ad nauseum necessary in a build like this? Is ad nauseum necessary? Well, I mean, you can tell me. I mean, it's putting us in a really good position here, right? Tybalt's Trickery, there you go. I will counter that Thassa's Oracle, but we're going to keep digging because we can. The thing is, we just need to be mindful of how much life we have left relative to how much damage is on board, and then where we are in turn order. So let's just pretend that this was the player directly across from me. So they've gone through their combat step maybe, and the next person has a chance to swing at me. I don't have anything that's going to make me lose life. That's not optional. Obviously, we can choose. We can elect to not do this. So that's fine. Let's just say that we stop here. We'll cast the Tybalt's Trickery to stop the Thassa's Oracle cast, right? And then, you know, they mill, they do that stuff, and then they get something completely useless. Or something very useful, but in this pretensy scenario, that happened. To answer your question, and here, we're gonna go full on face cam here. Ad nauseum is a very good card. And if your curve is low, you should probably be running it. There's no such thing as a value ad nauseum. There really isn't. There might be value necropotences, but ad nauseum when it's cast, provided you have, and we had 31 life there, even around 25 life, ad nauseum can net you a win in the right list. And most lists nowadays are lithe enough to where you will win, is lithe even a word, are thin enough, the CMC is low enough, that you can net a win using ad nauseum on your main phase, right, with 25 life, provided you are fortunate enough to see the fast mana necessary, right? We're fortunate that in this instance, we pulled fast mana that didn't, you know, have a high CMC, like a Simian Spirit Guide, Elvish Spirit Guides, so on and so forth. This scenario was great for us because we definitely have a win on our turn, and I'll talk you through that. Ad nauseum is not ever necessary, but in all likelihoods, it's going to be one of the best cards in your deck as a catalyst. Yeah, it's one of the best cards in the game. So if you have a chance to use it, use it. It just wins games. So from there, let's just say that we get hit with like a Crom, right? Crom's going to do 4 damage. Crom's going to do 4 damage? Crom's going to do 4 damage. It's a 4/4, right? Okay. Crom does 4. Sure. And then we take our turn. And I'm going to leave this out for now. We're going to look at the top 3 because we have that potential, and then we'll obviously put these back because the reanimate looks best. There's really nothing we want to reanimate here. But in this instance, do we leave ourselves a win con? Is this win con-less Jund? I don't know. I really don't know. We're going to do the Phyrexian Tower. I think it just makes the most sense for netting mana. We're going to put down this Chrome Mox. The Chrome Mox is going to exile this Fire Covenant. You always want to put your mana out first. It just makes the most sense. I put nothing in for Dockside, I realize now. But that's okay. We're also going to main phase. Let's just say that there's still, on turn 5, there's still only 2 islands. We're going to generate 2 red. Lo and behold, there are a shit ton of artifacts, though. So we're going to say that we generate 9 treasures on turn 5 based off of enchantments and artifacts is not far-fetched whatsoever with Dockside. So we'll say we produce that much. I think that is fair. I think we'll tap here to just add to this pile. Again, we're just generating mana We're going to eat this. Let's just say that was black mana, fine. And then we'll go ahead and bloop, go up more here, 3 black mana. And now in this scenario, what are we aiming towards? What are we trying to win with? Well, off the top of my noggin, I know that we have an Eternal Witness win, we have a Dual Caster Mage win. I don't think we baked anything else into this list, oddly enough. Not really. And we have all the mana sufficient to do this. How do I know that? Well, I've got a tutor here and a way to draw, right? Mind you, we don't want to do anything that's going to require our life, and we don't have a good way to gain life. So we're going to need a decent way to find the solutions sans damaging ourselves. We're also going to play this. We're going to get rid of this. And we've got this Finale of Devastation over here too. So we want to bear that in mind. We can actually just power out the Razaketh, but mind you, again, we only have 2 life left, right? So we don't want to do that. We will put this down for 1 black, sure. Again, that's all black. And then we've got this other tutor here. Okay, we got that down. Tinderwall is great. It's borderline excessive now, but we're going to do the Grim Monolith. And then we'll tap the this for the Tinderwall, double red. And we've got a ritual over here and a way to bury stuff. Okay, cool. So in this scenario, to get to our win quickest, I think the Eternal Witness line is best, but we want to have a Twin Flame or the Twin Flame Dual Caster Mage line. And again, these are all sorcery speed. We didn't add Praetor's Grasp. We didn't add a way to make infinite mana. So those are our best options. Probably want to revise our win cons here so that there are a few more overlaps. And you can add stuff to just go infinite mana with Dockside Extortionist. But we've got 9 treasures. Let's do this. We'll just, oh, and I can't do the Imperial Seal. Oh God, we gotta do Finale of Devastation. Do we have a win? We'll find out. So we'll do Finale of Devastation for, let's just use the 2 black here. And we'll use a treasure. We'll use 2 treasures for the green. Let's grab our Eternal Witness. I want to do Eternal Witness Twin Flame if possible. I don't think it is possible with the life loss here. And the Reanimate's going to cost us life too. That Crom swung at the perfect time. We might just want to destroy one of our own artifacts to give ourselves life with Nature's Claim. This will be the weirdest use of it. But yeah, I think that makes sense. We'll tap this to generate. We're going to need, oh God, this only generates black and red. We're going to generate the red. Why not? Okay. And we're going to use one of these treasures to break our own Chrome Mox to gain 4 life, okay? Okay, now we have life. I cast Eternal Witness. I cast Finale of Devastation for Eternal Witness, but we're going to want to sequence this properly, okay? So the mana is set aside for that. We do want to do this still, right? We still want to do Imperial Seal. So we're going to tap the Mox Diamond for Imperial Seal. Cool. Mox Diamond for Imperial Seal. Underworld Breach makes sense. Underworld Breach makes a lot of sense. That's probably the clearest way to just go about doing this. So we're going to get the Underworld Breach out, sure. We can sacrifice either Dockside or Tinderwall to draw the card, but I'm sorry. We need to shuffle here. Boop, boop, boop. Boop. We'll sacrifice the Dockside Extortionist to draw the cards because we want to reanimate Dockside Extortionist. That makes the most amount of sense. And then we should probably just cast this, right? Probably just cast this. Now, in this scenario, we could do Finale Devastation, sure. Let's just say we did that too. We put the Dockside back into our hands, whatever. In truth, you want to just get towards the Twin Flame, and we have a way to do that by doing an Unmarked Grave, right? So this is all unnecessary at this point, largely unnecessary. I should have just gone. I forgot Underworld Breach was a card. Blam, this, 9 more. 9 more treasures. All the mana in the world. And now we're going to cast the Unmarked Grave to put Twin Flame. The thing I really just want to illustrate is how cool this pairing is. So with this in our graveyard, from Unmarked Grave, you can find a non-legendary card and put it in your graveyard. We've cast the Underworld Breach because we're a boss. And we have 1 form of interaction there. Hopefully that's enough. Well, if Underworld Breach resolved, we've got everything in our graveyard too. So the Tybalt's Trickery, namely. So in this instance, we've got all the manas in the world. So we're going to cast this with additional cost of Strive, which allows me to cast this for each target beyond the first. I can target both Eternal Witness and Dockside Extortionist. So in doing so, Eternal Witness is going to go ahead and the new copy once it's resolved and its abilities put on the stack. It's going to see Twin Flame and put it back into my hand. Dockside Extortionist is generating 9 mana at this point. And with this, it only costs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana in total. So we're generating 4 treasures in excess of its total cost. So we have infinite mana. So we do have infinite mana, but we're also winning here because we have a bunch of hasty. You create tokens of those creatures, and those tokens have haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. There will be no end step for anyone else, outside of us, I guess. But the game ends once we've destroyed everyone. So with infinite Docksides and Eternal Witness, we win the game. 1 2s and 2 1s, ending the game. Seems pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to tune in with you guys. I know that was a lot of just mental arithmetic. I'm like, did I bake a win into this deck? Thankfully, we did. And it was an okay one. Let's talk about modifications and sort of tweak this, and then I think we can close this one out. But a Crom, you said? Yeah. It's like, Crom's not uncommon, right? I feel like Crom is pretty damn common. At most of the tables I go to, there's a Crom. So I'm used to getting smacked by Crom. And in that instance, it totally made more sense to hit me as opposed to my Tevesh, totally. Even if they could have killed Tevesh in that instance, because my life total was so low, I was very desperate for the life. So using Nature's Claim as opposed to Natural State was actually very helpful here. Like, gaining the life was actually very helpful. I missed part of the stream. Is the main line now Razaketh Burnt Offering combo similar to Rog Tevesh? It is not. It's still Underworld Breach. The main line of play, Razaketh is just a catalyst to get the ball rolling on what is Dockside Extortionist, Eternal Witness, and Twin Flame, which isn't necessarily a very thin combo. Like, it's A plus B plus C, but it's funny. Also, there's Dualcaster Mage and Twin Flame. You can say there's room for Heat Shimmer. I will state that if you're going to make infinite mana in this deck relying on Dockside, you probably want solutions that just win on the spot instead. You can use sack outlets with Dockside Extortionist and a Corpse Dance as well. Again, that's something we talked about a second ago. With the buyback, you can just make infinite mana and bring Dockside Extortionist back indefinitely. And with that, you can use things like Impact Tremor or things that allow you to kill your opponents with that creature. With that line of play, if we did Corpse Dance, because the way it reads, Corpse Dance. Return the top creature card of your graveyard to the battlefield. What you could do in that instance is, if you did use Razaketh as a catalyst, you could get like a Blasting Station, or again, the Impact Tremors, or anything really at that point, to do the damage necessary to kill your opponents that way, right? If you're just reanimating Dockside. But again, if you just use a sack outlet, Corpse Dance, and Dockside and make infinite mana, you could leverage any creature that's non-token, obviously, to do the same thing with any single card in Corpse Dance. Corpse Dance is kind of a fun outlet that you don't see often, but that's something you can do in Jund. And then outside of that, gens. There's nothing. You could add, again, Aetherflux Reservoir. I think Chain of Smog, Witherbloom Apprentice was something that was suggested earlier, and I don't think that should be off the table. I think that totally makes sense. Obviously, that is a very clear line of play. I'm just using cards that are of value that can also double as win cons. Like Eternal Witness is just an amazing card. It really is. And Dockside Extortion is just an amazing card. Twin Flame, just an amazing card. You're just doubling down on value. Like any value card that is also subsequently a win con, those are my favorite combos, even if they require a lot of cards, because in most instances, Ad Nauseam and Underworld Breach will just get you there. They just get you there. You just need the mana, right? You really just need the mana. What outlet would you use with Razaketh Burnt Offering? Tutor for a Storm payoff like Grape Shot with Razaketh first. Nature's Claim, your own thing to gain life. Void Angel, yes, thank you. We definitely did. So, on that note, the Storm payoff. So if you were to Burnt Offering Razaketh, so it depends on the scenario in which you found yourself in possession of Razaketh. Does that make sense? So what I would do if I were to do a Razaketh win, I would want to go for 2 Thralls equal Burnt Offering and Peer into the Abyss, right? Because the Rogrek and Tevesh list, it's actually a Peer into the Abyss list. Because when I reanimate my Razaketh, and in that deck, and again, the scenario in which it commonly happens is Reality Scramble Rograk. Find Razaketh. Generate 2 Thrall. Sacrifice 1 Thrall, Burnt Offering. Sacrifice the other Thrall, peer into the Abyss. I've used, in this particular instance, 4 mana. And Reality Scramble is 2 generic, 2 red, or 3 generic, 1 red. I forget. But this is going to give us 8 mana to shoot off a peer into the Abyss. The excess mana is generally red because that gives us our Pyroblast or Red Elemental Blast. Those are crucial if we're playing against a lot of blue players. And guess what? 3 out of 4 opponents, for me, are blue players. So I like having my Red Elemental Blast up if I can, or Ricochet Trap, or anything else really. So once you do that, and you cast Peer into the Abyss, it doesn't really matter where your life total is, but you're going to draw half your deck rounded up, and I don't think I've ever lost drawing half my deck. So in that instance, what you would do is you try to find a Stormwind. In most instances, that's going to rely on Underworld Breach, your LED, then recasting nonsense from your graveyard. You can even reanimate the Razaketh to do a Burnt Offering, reiterate the Burnt Offering, produce infinite mana. I know I mentioned this earlier, but you produce infinite Rakdos that way. And that way you can cast literally anything from your graveyard that will produce a win. And that could be Praetor's Grasping, exiling your opponent's graveyard, casting Aetherflux Reservoir, and gaining all of the life, and then winning the game. In very much the same vein here, though, those are all sorcery speed wins. You could technically do some of those at instant speed if you had like an Emergence Zone. But with that particular list, the ball game's a little different. Here, we're still winning at sorcery speed. And again, I actually don't mind that Dualcaster Mage Twin Flame and Eternal Witness Dockside Twin Flame are the only wins. I do think that if that is what this deck is doing, then we should add Heat Shimmer, right? We should have the other utility, at least for Dualcaster Mage. I think that makes sense. Or just add the Witherbloom line. Like, I don't dislike that. And I feel like it's widely used enough that if it's something you guys want to do, we can add it. But I wouldn't necessarily say it was the best solution. You can usually manually storm into a win with Aetherflux Reservoir and Underworld Breach. If we go for Underworld Breach as a main line of play and not just a catalyst as it was here, if it was a main line of play, I would actually suggest you also run Grinding Station, because Grinding Station allows you to just recast Mana Crypts, generate generic mana, sacrifice mana Crypt with Grinding Station. If you guys don't know what Grinding Station is, it fuels your Underworld Breach. And it's also just a really good card. It triggers on itself. It triggers when other artifacts enter the battlefield, and it allows you to mill target player 3 cards by sacrificing an artifact. So don't neglect the fact that this is untapping very often. Again, even on its own entrance, but also it's very good at, initially when you drop this, I'll use this to break any artifact that I won't need anymore going into the Underworld Breach pile, and then it'll untap itself and then break something else, which will generate the 6 mil that is even more fuel for the fire that is Underworld Breach. So I would say that more over anything, it might make sense to just go for Grinding Station, Aetherflux Reservoir, and Gens. That is very much in the same vein as Rograk and Tevesh. It's just easy. It's a generic-based win, and it's extremely, it's just a very compact combo. So I do like that. I think our artifact count is low, but mind you, we're using Dockside Extortionists, so you generate the artifacts you need. So it's not a problem. And if you're utilizing Razaketh, there are plenty of ways to just, nuke the Dockside and get value, right? So this is probably the best route to go here. Once we've cleaned this up, I think that we can test it again if you guys want, but this is probably where I want the deck with those 2 cards. I would say it's pretty good. Let me tune in with you guys. Yeah, but if we're in agreement, do I sound crazy? Does this all logic right with everyone? I think it logics with me. I will state the Skull Clamp wasn't all too useful there. Like, we never really played for it. It is something that you should play for as a Tevesh player, but here I think I'm okay. Of all of these can stay. Dothi Voidwalker is potentially on the chopping block, but mind you, Dothi Voidwalker gets you... The most important part about Dauthi Voidwalker is that it reads, you may play it this turn without paying its mana cost. That's the most important aspect. Doesn't matter what it is or what color it is, that utility is yours, but also you're just nuking their graveyards, which is great against opposing Underworld Breach players. Like, when they crack their LED, you should have realized there was a Dauthi Voidwalker on the battlefield. Sorry. Slightly sorry. Okay. Noxious Revival is great, by the way. Such a good card. Yeah. I think this is, the instant setup is fine. The only weak link it feels here, I hate to say it, it is really the Justice Will. So it's high cost, somewhat high reward, but it is sorcery speed. It's not like it's horribly integral. I would rather the Faithless Looting over Justice Will, and those are the two things I'm thinking about cutting from here. Again, in a deck like Rograk and Tevesh, Justice Will is amazing because you're powering it out so early and you're getting so much value from it. And then that deck also uses a lot more artifacts, so that red can be poured into something of pure value instantaneously. Where here it's like, you might generate 5 or 4 red at most when you do get it out. If you have your commander, that is, you get both of these effects, and maybe it draws into 3 cards that are useful. Jessica's Will is a great ritual when you have your commander out and you're trying to set up for a win on your turn, and you can potentially exile some interaction. But as it stands here, I'm less interested in that and more interested in the culling ritual to power through our turns, because most of the value cards in this list, it appears, are black and red, or sorry, black and green, whereas a lot of our interaction is in red. And mind you, this is obviously a high value card, but it only costs 1 red, so it's not like it's not a big ordeal to cast Underworld Breach. That does put us, though, where we need to be. So, as a recap, Aetherflux Reservoir, Manual Storm, win. It's just the easiest way to do it. Also, what's really nice about this is in that same scenario where I needed to Nature's Claim my own artifact to give myself the life to do the thing, if Aetherflux Reservoir was just in my hand, it would be the first thing, and you saw the gross amount of mana I had on that turn, this would be the first thing I cast. Like, once I get enough ramp to cast this, I would cast this, count the number of spells I've cast this turn, then cast the Mox Diamond, then cast the Tinderwall, then cast the lower CMC things that would have like fueled this and given me the life to just be like, okay, Imperial Seal, eat the whatever, get the thing, Underworld Breach, and then start going for the win. And very quickly after that, you'd go for the Grinding Station, right? So there's that. There is the win I illustrated with Dockside Extortionist, Twin Flame, and Eternal Witness. Again, one of my favorite cards. Like, if you're in green, you should be running Eternal Witness. There's really nothing better. And it is a good excuse to run Green Sun Zenith, although I will omit it from now, for now, because we're fine. But I will state that you'd probably run Green Sun Zenith now. It has a fair enough reason to be in the list, in my opinion. There's that, and then there's Dual Caster Mage with the Twin Flame. And that's it. That's it, folks. We're not on the Burnt Offering, but if you want to be on Burnt Offering, you can do the combos I illustrated a second ago. But we can try this one more time and see if we fail. See if we win. Don't want to keep this hand. Is this another non-lander? Can I just state how many non-landers we've had? Okay, let's just say we're off turn. If you put in Stormkill and Artist and Mayhem Devil in the deck, it would make a better argument for Witherbloom, Chain of Smog. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know. I would rather just do the Underworld Breach Grinding Station thing. It's just so clean cut. It's all generic mana, right? You just use colorless mana for this, is what I'm saying. So any mana we produce is going to fuel that combo. Do I like starting the game with Aetherflux Reservoir? No, but this is still a fine hand. And again, we'll just pretend that we're able to do that right off the bat. I will state that right here, the biggest thing we can just get rid of is actually this. I know that sounds insane that we're going to rip one of our own win cons out, but I don't mind this because we've got Ad Nauseam and potentially a way to just wheel into a better win or better solution. So we're going to actually get rid of the Aetherflux Reservoir, and we have this off turn. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to do off turn like a Vampiric Tutor, so we'll just go ahead and take turn. Let's go ahead Chrome Mox. Now, what's weird about this Chrome Mox and what sucks about this situation is the fact that this is really the only card we can get rid of, right? So we will do that. Now, you can also just say, wait, not that, this one. You could also just do this and use the Tainted Pack off turn to find your Dark Ritual, right? Which is not a bad idea. You can see what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to quickly get to this Ad Nauseam, and right now, a turn 2 Ad Nauseam would be possible. If we did the Chrome Mox Tainted Pack, we could put this down and then put a target on someone by just putting this. The person who has, I know it sounds weird, but if I was going to put this down turn 1, I'm sorry, this is still turn 1, the Gemstone Caverns was my off-turn card. I would give this to the other proactive list, and I'd be like, hey, have at it. Win the game on your turn. In the hopes that everyone else is primed to stop this person so that the interaction happens then, and they can give this to whomever they want, so that it sets me up on my turn after I've grabbed my Dark Ritual, right, which I'm going to pour into this. It sets me up to cleanly get away with an Ad Nauseam as opposed to, you know, using the Tainted Pack right now instead, right? So there's those two options. I think that it might be more advisable to just rip and exile stuff with this, but we could also, because I got rid of the Aetherflux Reservoir, it doesn't feel as safe to start exiling other things, because if I have to do that to find a ritual to go into Ad Nauseam and I fail and and exiling all the things that are potential win cons, then I'm kind of screwed. So we are just going to do the Chrome Mox. I'm going to give this to the player that could potentially win. And if that happens, que sera, that's how the game's played. At least in this instance, we're going to give it to that person, or we're just going to have a Dark Ritual. Again, this was not the best keep. It was definitely interesting because of how this deck, this hand was layered. But now it is turn 2 for me, and I will untap all my things and draw a card. What I was hoping for was interaction. That would have been great, but now I have to draw all my damn lands. So we're going to do the thing that's going to take the least amount of life. We'll do the Bloodstained Mire, and we'll lose life. Hopefully this Witchclaw Talisman did not net someone a win, and then we're going to rip here to go for a win, and we'll just go for a Badlands here to move things along. Boop, boop, boop. We're going to do a main phase Ad Naus, and this is going to answer the question how necessary Ad Naus is if this works. So let's just, I'm going to put this in just an exile. Let's just pretend the Witchclaw Talisman was given to someone else and whatever. We don't need it. So 3 black, Chrome Mox, Command Tower, main phase Ad Naus, 1, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw. That's 2, 3, all the lands, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh my God! 26, 20, 16, 24. That's okay. It's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh man. All right. Is that game? Maybe that's game. I'm going to say that's game because the odds of not seeing any more fast mana that weren't these two. We did it with 31 life, so I will state that it happens, but wow, we really got screwed there. Where did I stop? I'm pretty sure I'm dead here because I don't have anything to do with this hand. If I stopped, oh yeah. Let's just pretend I'm not dead. Let's just pretend I have 1 life, but I think that killed me, right? Where did I stop? I stopped after this sucker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, I stopped here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 10. Oh, I'm definitely dead. I am definitely dead. But let's just say that this was it. If you did this and this, and you had 1 red and 1 green, Is that enough to do anything? No. You do a pyretic ritual? No. No, no. You do wild growth on the gemstone caverns, maybe. Wild growth in the gemstone caverns. You generate 2 green. Oh god. I mean, this is all hype. I died. We died. But it turned to ad nos, right? You have to do it. I will say that 9 times out of 10 you're generally successful, but I do think that this can be structured more to favor ad nauseum. If you see ad nos and you have the mana base, or rather you have the cards to effectively do it on turn 2, it generally makes sense to just go for it. The way this list is structured though, all lists that if you have over 35 life and you can do it between turns 1 and turn 3, it just makes sense to rip it, but it clearly did not work there. If this was the list that utilized Rograk, you can see there's a few more options available because there's a lot of low CMC stuff that just nets you ramp off of having creatures, namely the Culling the Weak, Infernal Plunge, now I remember it, but stuff like that. So this was fine. This was fine. It can get there. So because there's no more Patreon, right? But I do want to thank all of you guys out for coming out today and hanging out with me and building this deck. I liked where it went. I think that this is equally viable as a Protean Hulk build, and probably more fun in that because it's going to be more contemplative as a list. Although, as it stands, if you're just trying to do the fast thing, there are probably better lists to focus on because really Tana is just giving us colors and Tevesh is the one we're going to shoot for a majority of the time. So Jens, if you're still watching, Trent, if you're watching, I would maybe opt this out for a different Gruul commander, but there really isn't. I don't think there's another Gruul partner. Am I wrong? Rograk obviously slides into this list very well. I feel like I've proven that with the previous build. I do think that this has legs to work as a proactive list, and I think it's probably more interesting as a slower, grindier, mid-range stack. I definitely think that's probably the route you should go. So thankfully that list is still linked down below in this deck list here. But again, thank you guys for coming out to watch these every week. I'm excited to tackle the next list next week, and of course talk Kamigawa with you guys when that fully releases. But again, thank you for joining me for this Brew Master segment. I am Patrick Marlette. Happy brewing, babies. And this is interesting. There's no end roll, but thank you, Patreon members, for hooking me up last year. You guys are the best. I've told you multiple times, but you're the reason this roof is above my head. So thank you so much. And Happy New Year's to all you guys, too. Forgot to say that. A little private message for anyone still hanging out. But guys, it was a blast. Take care.